I guess what impressed me most was the kindness and the hospitality of Japanese people. No matter where I went or who I met, they extended great kindness and great courtesy to me. And then as an American with a country whose history dates back maybe 200 years, to be able to see the shrines, temples, things of that nature that go back 1,000 years or more is really a moving experience. Was also fortunate as well to have an opportunity to visit the site at Hiroshima, the memorial. And no matter what one thinks of the war and responsibility, one can't help but be moved by the loss of life and mourn the loss of life. And it brings home really the horror of war. And I think Japan has done an excellent job of trying to teach the world a lesson out of that tragedy. And then on a much happier note, was able to go to a baseball game, being a baseball fan. And the spirit shown by the Japanese fans was really a joy to watch. I wish we had a song or a chant for every player, and a team song that we would sing during the game. It was a great pleasure not only to watch expert baseball players, but also fans who so much enjoyed the game and contributed to the support of their team. Well, as an old Army officer, I don't know if it was trumpets or bugles, but certainly brought back fond memories of my time in the Army, even though it was for a baseball team. I think they're very excited about the new defense guidelines. Given the common values that our two countries share, and these enduring values that they last over time, the opportunity to secure these values by better cooperation, I think, is something that everyone I spoke to here is supportive of and anxious to make progress. So in terms of planning, in terms of better coordination, in terms of mutual support, so where we can support Japan's self-defense forces, and of course where they can help support the American military, I think is something that will work not only to the benefit of both nations, but in the service of peace and stability throughout the region. I guess the main points were that to some extent the new guidelines are a product of the changing security environment, which I think most people agree is becoming more worrisome, and that the changing security situation and the response of the guidelines and the opportunity that the guidelines give us to cooperate offers the possibility of establishing a new strategy to help preserve peace and stability in the region. And the question is, we're only at the beginning of that process, so how do we best proceed now? Japan and the United States really form the foundation for peace and stability in the Western Pacific, and I think a logical approach is for us to begin the process of cooperation and planning, and as we do, over time, extend that partnership to other nations in the region who have common interests of peace, trade, respect for the rule of law, and an approach like the Trans-Pacific Partnership that can benefit all nations, and to put the emphasis there and to discourage the actions of other nations who want to operate outside the rule of law. Certainly, if Japan creates that option if Japan has a choice, then it can make choices based on individual circumstances and cases. If Japan lacks that commitment or lacks that capability, then it loses the opportunity to have a choice. My thought, though, is that it would be best to begin with strengthening defense at home and strengthening defense along the first island chain. I think the foundation has clearly demonstrated that it's a major force for peace at home and also in the region and likely beyond. And that in particular, it's a great force for expanding and deepening the cooperation between our two peoples. And I think as long as Japanese and Americans are working together, the prospects for peace are good.